How did these get here, buddy? Did you do this?
The morning light streamed softly through the half-open curtains, scattering golden stripes across the living room floor. The warmth of the sun kissed the hardwood, highlighting the gentle swirl of dust motes floating lazily in the air. Outside, the faint rustle of trees whispered with the breeze. A few birds chirped in the distance, their songs calm and almost sleepy. The world felt quiet, unhurried, peaceful. I cradled my coffee mug in both hands, inhaling the rich aroma. Steam curled in soft spirals toward my face, carrying faint hints of vanilla and roasted beans. The house was silent except for the low hum of the refrigerator and the occasional creak of floorboards beneath the morning sun. I sank deeper into the couch, stretching my legs, feeling the warmth of the blanket draped across me. Then, almost imperceptibly, I noticed him. Max, my dog, padded across the room. His caramel and cream coat gleamed under the sun, each strand catching the light in subtle golden highlights. He moved with purpose, yet without urgency, almost like he was part of the rhythm of the house itself. His ears twitched at the softest sounds, the hum of the fridge, a distant car, a bird landing nearby. His tail swayed gently behind him, relaxed, yet deliberate, as if he was aware of something I wasn't. He stopped abruptly near the corner of the living room. I didn't notice what caught his attention at first. Then, slowly, he lifted a paw and scratched the wall. Just once. Then again. And again. Each motion was soft, careful, almost meditative. There was a rhythm to it, a quiet insistence, like he was coaxing something to reveal itself. I frowned slightly. Max? I asked softly, not wanting to startle him. My voice was calm, curious. Not alarmed. He didn't look at me. Instead, he pressed his nose against the wall, sniffing and scratching in the same gentle rhythm. I noticed the faint creak of the wallboard under his paws, a subtle sound, almost musical in its repetition. I set my coffee down. I moved closer, kneeling on the floor beside him. My hand rested lightly on his warm fur. The softness of his coat was comforting, grounding. The sound of his nails on the wood floor echoed faintly in the quiet room. I watched his eyes, deep brown, intelligent, full of focus. They didn't just look at the wall, they seemed to see through it, as if Max understood something I didn't yet. Something inside me stirred. A feeling I couldn't name, a gentle tug at the heart. The rhythm of his scratching, the patience in his gaze, the calm persistence in his movements, it all felt meaningful. I rubbed behind his ears, whispering, "What is it, boy?" He paused for a moment. Tilted his head slightly. His gaze met mine, and for a fleeting second, there was a clarity in his eyes, a message I almost understood, but not fully. Then he returned to the wall, resuming his rhythmic scratching. I leaned back slightly, letting myself breathe in the quiet tension. It wasn't fear. It wasn't urgency. It was anticipation. A soft, warm anticipation, like the first notes of a song you've never heard but feel you know. I tried to distract him. "Come on, Max, let's play a little. Go get your ball." But he didn't budge. Not a step. His paws continued their gentle percussion against the wall. His tail swayed slowly, almost meditatively. His ears twitched at every minor sound, yet his focus never wavered. It was as if he was in a world slightly offset from mine, and I was just now being invited to notice it. I watched him for several long minutes. The sunlight moved across the floor. Dust motes danced lazily. My coffee grew warm, untouched, forgotten. And Max continued, patient and insistent, calm yet unwavering. Finally, I spoke again, softer this time. "Max, what are you trying to tell me?" His head tilted ever so slightly. I felt a chill run through me, not from cold, but from recognition. There was something here, something behind the wall, something he wanted me to see. I could feel the weight of his intention. It was quiet, subtle, yet undeniable. I traced my fingers along the edge of the wall where his paws were moving. The wood felt solid, unyielding. But the rhythm of his scratching had a strange effect. It seemed almost like it was coaxing a secret hidden just beneath the surface. I sat back on my heels, taking in the moment. Sunlight warmed my face. The smell of coffee lingered. The gentle sway of Max's tail and the quiet scratch of his paws filled the room. I realized I wasn't just watching him. I was sharing the moment. His focus had drawn me in. His patience had taught me to notice. And in that simple, ordinary Sunday morning, something extraordinary was waiting to be discovered. Time seemed to stretch. The quiet hum of the refrigerator, the whisper of the breeze, the soft chirping of birds, all became part of the rhythm of the room. Max paused for a moment, looking at me with those intelligent eyes. Then, as if sensing my understanding, he returned to the wall, scratching gently but insistently. I felt my heart tighten slightly. Not with worry, not with fear, but with awe. The connection was undeniable. A silent communication passed between us, one I could feel but not yet fully comprehend. I knelt down closer, placing my hand gently on the floor, right in front of him. "Show me, Max, show me what's there." He looked at me one last time, tail sweeping slowly, eyes deep and calm. Then he returned to the wall, paw after paw, soft, deliberate, purposeful. Minutes passed like hours. The world outside continued its lazy Sunday rhythm. Sunlight shifted across the room, painting Max in a halo of warmth. Dust motes sparkled like tiny stars in the golden light. And still, the wall beckoned. I realized then that whatever Max sensed, it was important. Something lay hidden. Something quiet. Something waiting for the right moment to be revealed. And I, sitting there with my faithful companion, was about to witness it. The sense of mystery was gentle, warm, inviting. Not frightening, not urgent. Just a soft tug at the heart that demanded attention. Max paused for a moment. Looked at me. Then at the wall. And I knew, without understanding why yet, that the morning I had expected to pass peacefully was about to change forever. The morning had settled into a calm rhythm, the kind that makes you forget the world outside. Sunlight had shifted slightly, falling in warm golden beams across the living room. I had poured myself another cup of coffee, its steam rising lazily into the air. And yet, I couldn't stop watching Max. He sat near the wall, paws lightly tapping, ears alert, eyes unwavering. There was no frantic energy. No anxiety. Only focus. A quiet insistence that pulled at me in ways I couldn't describe. I knelt beside him again. "Max. I don't understand." "Why there?" I whispered, my voice soft, almost a murmur. He looked at me for a moment, his gaze deep, as if weighing my understanding. Then he returned to the wall, sniffing and pawing with gentle precision. There was intention in his movements, subtle, thoughtful, purposeful. I realized then that this wasn't mere play. Max knew something. I studied his posture, the slight tilt of his head when he sniffed, the careful pacing of his paws, the occasional pause where he just listened. He wasn't scratching randomly. Each tap seemed like a message. Each sniff like a question waiting for an answer. Curiosity swelled within me. I leaned closer, placing my hand lightly on the wall, feeling the texture of the paint, the subtle give beneath his paws. It was ordinary, yet it wasn't. Because of him, the wall seemed alive with possibility. "Max, you're trying to tell me something, aren't you?" I asked softly, almost afraid to break the spell. He paused and looked up. His eyes held a clarity that made my heart skip. There was no fear. No urgency. Just knowledge. And in that moment, I understood that he had sensed something beyond the ordinary, something hidden, something important. I watched as he resumed his gentle scratching. This time, I tried to follow his cues. I crouched beside him, leaning in to see more closely. He nudged a small section of the wall with his nose, then tapped it again with his paw. I knelt there, tracing the subtle indentation he highlighted. It felt like a puzzle. A quiet, gentle puzzle waiting for the right attention. I remembered small things, faint smells, tiny scratches I'd ignored before, a slight draft I had never noticed. Each detail seemed to fall into place when Max guided me toward it. His intuition was subtle, almost imperceptible if you weren't paying attention. But when you were, it was undeniable. Minutes turned into a soft passage of time. I felt a bond growing stronger with each passing second. Max and I were in sync, not just as pet and owner, but as two beings sharing a quiet understanding of the world. I leaned back slightly, exhaling slowly. The room was warm, golden light pooling across our shoulders. Dust motes danced lazily in the sunlight. And Max continued with his gentle insistence, unwavering. There was no barking. No frantic whining. Only focus, quiet patience, and trust. I could feel it radiating from him. I reached out, placing my hand on his head, feeling the warmth of his fur. "Show me, Max, show me what you know," I whispered. He leaned into my touch briefly, then returned to the wall, pawing gently at the same spot. I studied him carefully, noting how he sniffed, how he paused, how his gaze flicked toward me, almost as if seeking permission. Permission to reveal. It struck me then, the connection we shared wasn't just companionship. It was collaboration. He sensed. I observed. Together, we uncovered the world in small, deliberate ways. I watched him for what felt like hours. Each tap of his paw was measured. Each sniff intentional. Each glance toward me a soft reassurance that I was part of the process, part of the discovery. I felt a warmth spread through me. Not from the sunlight, not from the coffee, but from the intimacy of the moment. A dog, so ordinary to others, yet extraordinary to me, was guiding me toward something meaningful. And then, I noticed the faint sound beneath his paws, a soft hollow echo that had gone unnoticed before. My heart skipped. Max had found it. I could feel it in the way his tail wagged slowly, deliberately, in a quiet rhythm that matched my own racing pulse. I leaned closer. "Max, do you feel that too?" I murmured, barely audible. He pressed his nose against the wall again, ears forward, eyes focused. His paw tapped rhythmically, almost like a heartbeat. A gentle intuition had become action. And that action was leading me somewhere. I realized something fundamental in that moment. Dogs don't just act on instinct, they feel the world in ways humans often overlook. They notice subtleties. They sense patterns. They understand intentions. And Max had discovered something I hadn't yet seen. I watched the sunlight shift again, bathing the room in warmer hues. I felt a weight of gratitude, a sense of awe. The quiet mystery of the wall, combined with Max's gentle guidance, filled the room with a calm tension, a soft anticipation. I knelt beside him, hand resting lightly on the floor, watching every movement. I spoke softly, "Show me, Max, show me what's hidden." He paused. Looked at me. And in that gaze, I felt the depth of his understanding. He wasn't just scratching a wall. He was leading me to a revelation, a secret that had waited patiently behind the ordinary surface of our home. And though I didn't yet know what it was, I knew it mattered. Deeply. For the first time that morning, I felt completely present. Not just aware of the room, not just aware of the sunlight or the coffee, but aware of the connection. The bond. The silent language shared between human and dog. I leaned back slightly, letting the moment breathe. Max continued his gentle rhythm, ears forward, eyes focused. The soft tapping of his paws echoed faintly, each sound a note in the quiet symphony of our shared discovery. And in the warmth of the room, in the golden light of a calm Sunday morning, I understood one thing clearly. Max's intuition was guiding us both. And what we were about to uncover would change everything. The golden morning light shifted slightly across the living room floor, brushing against the soft curves of the couch and the polished wood beneath our feet. Outside, the wind whispered through the trees, stirring the faint scent of winter pine and damp earth. Inside, everything remained calm, quiet, ordinary. And yet, for me, nothing felt ordinary anymore. Max continued at the wall, scratching gently but purposefully. His movements were rhythmic, deliberate, almost like he was following a silent instruction no one else could hear. I remained kneeling beside him, hand hovering over his back, careful not to disturb the focus radiating from him. I had watched Max for hours now, or at least, it felt that way. Time seemed suspended whenever he was near the wall. Each tap of his paw resonated softly, mingling with the hum of the refrigerator and the occasional chirp of a bird outside. It was soothing, almost meditative, and yet there was a quiet insistence that stirred a gnawing curiosity deep in my chest. I leaned closer, studying him more carefully this time. His eyes flicked toward mine for just a brief moment, as if checking that I was following him. Then, without hesitation, they returned to the wall. There was purpose in that gaze, intelligence, and something else. Something I couldn't quite name, but felt in my chest. Max. I want to understand, I whispered, voice low, almost reverent. He paused, as if acknowledging my words, then nudged the wall again with his nose, scratching softly. His tail swished lazily, back and forth, like a pendulum marking the rhythm of discovery. The moment held me completely, my focus entirely on him and the subtle mystery he had uncovered. Curiosity had grown into something more than just intrigue. It was fascination, a quiet obsession. I couldn't stop myself from noticing every detail, the faint scratch marks along the paint, the tiny dust particles he stirred with his paws, even the way the sunlight made his coat glow, highlighting each caramel and cream strand. Every tiny movement seemed significant now. I tried gently to move him away, thinking maybe he was bored or distracted. "Come on, Max, let's play." "You've been at it for a while," I murmured. But he didn't budge. Not an inch. His paws returned to the same spot, his nose brushing against the wall, sniffing and nudging as if the secret lay just beneath the surface. His persistence tugged at me, a soft call to notice, to truly observe. I crouched lower, hands resting lightly on the floor, letting myself be fully present in the moment. I felt my chest tighten with anticipation. My mind tried to rationalize, maybe it was a draft, a hidden crease, a small imperfection in the wall, but Max's focus made me pause. Rational thoughts felt meaningless in comparison to the gentle certainty radiating from him. I began to pay attention to details I had overlooked before. A faint discoloration in the paint, subtle indentations in the wall, the way the light shifted across the surface at certain angles. Each observation drew me closer, slowly unraveling the ordinary facade of the room. And Max. Max was the guide through it all. Minutes passed, or maybe hours. Time had lost its meaning in the quiet rhythm of discovery. I leaned back slightly, resting on my heels, watching him with an intensity one didn't realize I could feel. My curiosity was no longer simple observation. It had transformed into a deep desire to understand, to connect, to uncover whatever secret lay waiting behind the wall. I whispered softly again, more to myself than to him, "Max, what are you trying to tell me?" He paused and glanced at me, those deep brown eyes full of warmth and intelligence. There was no urgency, no pressure, just clarity. Then he returned to the wall, pawing softly, nudging gently, his focus unwavering. I realized then that this moment was teaching me patience. To observe without rushing. To notice the subtle signs. To trust the quiet guidance of someone who cared enough to insist on showing the truth. Max had a lesson to give, and I was finally ready to receive it. I sat back on my heels, letting the room breathe around me. Sunlight pooled on the floor, bathing the space in soft warmth. The faint smell of coffee lingered in the air. Dust motes danced lazily in the beams of light. And Max. Max remained steadfast, his presence comforting yet filled with gentle urgency. I felt a bond deepening. Not just companionship, something richer. A connection built on trust, shared curiosity, and unspoken understanding. He had sensed something invisible to me, and now I was beginning to see through his eyes, to follow the rhythm of his intuition. Slowly, I reached out and placed my hand gently on his back. "I'm with you, Max," I murmured. His tail flicked once, lightly, as if acknowledging my commitment. And then he nudged the wall again, sharper this time, tapping with both paws as though urging me to pay closer attention. My mind raced, but gently. Not in panic, not in fear, only in wonder. What could possibly be hidden here? Why had he been so determined? The possibilities spun quietly, each one a soft thread of imagination weaving through the calm of the morning. I studied him more intently. The subtle flick of his ears, the slight curl of his tail, the intensity in his gaze, it was all part of a language I was beginning to understand. Max wasn't just scratching a wall. He was communicating, guiding, sharing a secret in the only way he knew how. I leaned closer to the wall, tracing faint scratches with my fingertips, following his lead. Each tap, each nudge, seemed to pulse with significance. I felt a warmth rise in my chest. Gratitude. Awe. A quiet thrill. And beneath it all, a gentle tension, soft, inviting, compelling me to stay present, to pay attention, to trust. I whispered again, softly, almost a prayer, "Show me, Max, let me see what you found." He paused for just a moment, looking at me with those wise, knowing eyes. Then he returned to the wall, nudging and scratching with purpose, as if to say, "Patience. Look carefully. I'm guiding you." And in that moment, I realized something I hadn't before. Curiosity is more than questioning. Curiosity is connection. It's trust. It's shared discovery. And Max was teaching me all of it, one gentle tap at a time. The sunlight shifted again, painting long shadows across the floor. I felt completely present. The ordinary room now held the weight of quiet mystery. Every breath, every sound, every movement was amplified in significance. And Max, my loyal companion, remained patient and unwavering, guiding me toward an unknown, yet deeply important truth. I leaned back, letting the quiet tension fill the room, feeling the bond between us deepen, stronger than ever. And as I watched him, I couldn't shake the feeling that what lay hidden behind the wall would touch our hearts in a way we never expected. The sun had shifted higher in the sky, spilling a soft, golden warmth through the living room windows. Shadows lengthened and danced across the floorboards. The smell of coffee lingered faintly, blending with the subtle scent of winter air drifting in through the cracked window. The world outside continued its lazy Sunday rhythm, but inside, time had slowed, suspended, held in the quiet presence of Max and me. Max sat by the wall, paws lightly tapping at the surface with his familiar rhythm. But now, as I watched him, I noticed something more. He wasn't just focused on the wall. He was aware of me. A glance here. A tail flick there. Tiny cues of connection that felt like silent conversation. I reached out, brushing my hand gently along his back. "I'm right here, Max," I murmured. His head tilted slightly, leaning into my touch. It was a small movement, almost imperceptible, yet it felt monumental. A signal that we were sharing this moment together, not just as human and dog, but as companions navigating a quiet, unfolding mystery. I knelt beside him, letting the warmth of his body press against mine. The subtle rhythm of his breathing, the soft weight of his fur under my hand, the faint tap of his paws against the wall, it was a language all its own. A language built on trust, patience, and quiet understanding. "Show me," I whispered again, voice soft and steady, letting each word linger in the air. "Help me understand what you see, Max." He paused, eyes meeting mine. For a heartbeat, the world felt suspended. The golden light danced across his fur, highlighting each caramel streak, each cream patch. I could feel the bond between us growing stronger, deeper. It wasn't just affection. It was shared purpose. Connection. Communication beyond words. And then he returned to the wall, pawing gently, nudging with his nose. But this time, something had changed. His rhythm was slightly different, deliberate in a way that suggested he wanted me to notice something I had missed before. I leaned closer, letting my fingers brush the faint scratches he had made, feeling the subtle give beneath the paint. "Good boy," I murmured softly, almost reverently. The words felt small compared to the enormity of the moment, but they were the only ones I had. Minutes passed, stretching into a gentle rhythm of observation and understanding. I studied him closely, the tilt of his ears, the slight curl of his tail, the soft pause between his paw taps. Every gesture conveyed meaning. Every glance seemed to say, "I found something. Watch carefully." I laughed quietly to myself, a soft chuckle, almost shy. "You're incredible, Max," I said. "I don't know how you do it, but you see things I never could." He paused at my words, lifting his eyes briefly to meet mine. His gaze was warm, steady, intelligent. And then, without hesitation, he returned to the wall. I realized I didn't need to rush. I didn't need to force discovery. Max was guiding me, and I only needed to follow. I leaned back, watching him work. My heart swelled in a quiet, steady rhythm. The ordinary living room, sunlight spilling across the floor, dust motes drifting lazily in the air, the faint hum of the refrigerator had transformed into a stage for connection. Each movement, each glance, each gentle tap of his paw carried significance. I placed my hand lightly on the wall beside him, feeling the subtle texture beneath my fingers. It was solid, ordinary, but somehow, with him, it felt like a threshold to something extraordinary. The mystery that had begun as a faint curiosity was now a shared journey. "Max, we'll figure it out," I whispered. His tail wagged slowly in response, and for the first time, I felt the full weight of his presence. Not just as a dog, but as a guide, a partner, a friend. Time moved slowly in that quiet room. Sunlight shifted, painting longer shadows along the walls. Max's eyes followed the rhythm of the light, occasionally flicking to mine, as if checking that I was following. Each tap of his paws resonated softly, like a heartbeat, connecting us to the quiet mystery together. I reached out again, this time stroking his ears and whispering encouragement. "I'm with you. Whatever it is, we'll discover it together." He leaned into my touch, then nudged the wall gently with his nose. The faint creak of the wallboard echoed softly in the quiet room. I could feel my pulse sync with his rhythm, slow, steady, intentional. The connection deepened with every passing moment, a silent understanding forming between us. I noticed small details I had never paid attention to before, the slight indentation in the paint, the faint discoloration along the wall, the subtle draft that hinted at something hidden behind it. Each observation felt amplified through Max's intuition. He had been guiding me all along, and only now was I fully aware of it. "Good boy," I said again, softly, my voice barely above a whisper. I felt a warmth spread through my chest, not from the sunlight, not from the coffee, but from the intimacy of the moment. From the shared rhythm, the unspoken trust, the connection between human and dog. Max paused, head tilting slightly, eyes locking with mine. I leaned closer, letting my hand rest gently on his back. "You're amazing, Max, more than I could have ever imagined." He resumed his gentle scratching, his eyes focused, tail swishing slowly in rhythm. And in that quiet, golden room, I felt an understanding deepen, a knowledge that this moment was more than discovery. It was communion. Hours could have passed in that shared stillness, but it felt timeless. Every detail mattered, the warmth of the sunlight, the faint hum of the refrigerator, the soft texture of his fur under my hand, the subtle taps of his paws against the wall. Each element wove together, creating a tapestry of trust, patience, and quiet revelation. I leaned back, letting the warmth of the room fill me. Max sat beside me, nudging occasionally, his gaze always returning to the wall. And I knew, in a deep, undeniable way, that this was only the beginning. Our bond had deepened not just through play, not just through companionship, but through shared purpose, quiet observation, and trust. Max had shown me patience, intuition, and understanding in ways I hadn't known I could experience. And as the golden light shifted and the shadows stretched across the floor, I realized something profound. Whatever lay behind that wall, whatever secret Max had sensed, we would face it together. And the journey, guided by his gentle intuition, was already teaching me the true meaning of connection, trust, and unconditional love. The sunlight had mellowed into a soft, golden glow, spilling across the living room in gentle pools. Dust motes floated lazily, catching the light like tiny suspended stars. The smell of coffee lingered faintly, mixed with the warm scent of Max's fur as he moved beside me. The quiet rhythm of the house was comforting, yet today, it felt charged with subtle anticipation. Max's paws tapped the wall with the same gentle insistence as before. But something had shifted. His nudges were sharper, more deliberate. His eyes, bright, intelligent, patient, kept flicking toward me, as if silently saying, "Now. Pay closer attention." I knelt beside him, placing my hand lightly on the wall. The texture was familiar, smooth, unyielding, ordinary. And yet, under Max's persistent guidance, it felt different. It felt alive. Waiting. I leaned in closer, following the faint scratches his nails had made over the past hours. At first, they seemed inconsequential. But now, under the soft golden light, I noticed a faint outline, a subtle difference in the paint where the surface seemed thinner, almost like a panel. "Max, do you see this?" I whispered, my voice trembling slightly with quiet excitement. He lifted his head, ears twitching, eyes meeting mine. Then, with a soft nudge of his nose and a deliberate paw tap, he confirmed what I had suspected. The panel, it was the point of interest. I took a slow, steady breath, feeling the warmth of the room and the gentle weight of Max's presence beside me. "Okay, boy, let's see what's behind here," I murmured. My hand rested on the panel, feeling its edges. There was a slight give. Max pawed lightly again, as if encouraging me to push forward. Carefully, I pressed against the wall. It creaked faintly under my touch. Dust rose in tiny clouds, catching the sunlight as I eased the panel open. Max sniffed eagerly, tail wagging slowly, his eyes alert. And there it was, a small, hidden compartment. I froze for a moment, letting the significance of the discovery sink in. The compartment was simple, wooden, unadorned, but its presence spoke volumes. Someone had intentionally concealed it. The air inside smelled faintly of age, dust, and the faint hint of something forgotten. Max leaned closer, nose twitching, ears forward. He pawed at the compartment, sniffing and inspecting. His eyes flicked to mine, then back to the hidden space, almost as if saying, "I told you. Look what we found together." I opened the compartment fully, revealing a small bundle wrapped in aged cloth. My hands trembled slightly as I lifted it. The cloth was fragile, worn with time, but carefully wrapped. Inside, I found a collection of old letters, yellowed and curling at the edges. Their ink was faded but still legible. I held one carefully, unfolding it. The handwriting was neat, deliberate, and personal. The words spoke of memories, of love, of quiet moments long past. Each line carried emotion, soft, poignant, filled with intimacy and warmth. Max pressed his head gently against my side, his presence grounding me. He had led me here not out of mischief, not out of chance, but with intuition and purpose. The realization filled me with awe. I stroked his head gently, whispering, "You knew, didn't you, Max? You knew all along." He nudged the letters with his nose, as if reminding me that the discovery was meant to be shared, to be understood slowly, carefully. I smiled softly, feeling a warmth spread through my chest. I carefully explored the compartment further. Alongside the letters, I found small mementos, an old photograph, a delicate key, and a tiny trinket box. Each item seemed insignificant alone, but together they told a story. A story of someone who had lived here before us, someone whose memories had been tucked away, waiting for discovery. Max pawed gently at the photograph, his eyes flicking to mine. I picked it up, brushing away the dust. It was a picture of a family, smiling softly, the kind of quiet happiness that warms the heart. I felt a pang of connection, an invisible thread linking the past to the present, bridged by Max's unwavering intuition. I sat back against the wall, holding the letters and photographs in my lap. Max settled beside me, head resting on my knee, eyes soft and calm. The sunlight illuminated the room in a warm, golden glow, and for the first time, the mystery felt complete. Or at least, partially unveiled. I carefully read the letters aloud, my voice low, calm, and reflective. Each word resonated in the quiet room, echoing softly in the golden light. Max listened attentively, ears flicking occasionally, as if he too understood the weight of the moment. The letters spoke of love and loss, of quiet joys and small regrets, of memories meant to be treasured. Each one carried the essence of someone who had cared deeply, lived fully, and left behind traces of a life filled with warmth. I felt my chest tighten, not with sorrow, but with connection. Connection to the past, to the room, to the small, quiet presence of Max, who had guided me here with patient insistence. Hours passed in a soft haze. The sunlight shifted, dust motes danced lazily, and the room was filled with a sense of reverence. Max remained beside me, calm, steady, intuitive. I realized that he had not only led me to a secret hidden in the wall, but had also deepened our bond. Together, we had uncovered something meaningful, something timeless. I whispered softly, almost to myself, "Thank you, Max, for showing me, for trusting me, for guiding me." He leaned into my touch, tail swishing slowly, and I felt the full depth of his presence. It was not just discovery, it was connection. It was trust. It was love in its purest, simplest form. And as I gently set the letters and photograph back into the compartment, I understood something profound. The secret behind the wall was not just a hidden space. It was a bridge between past and present, human and dog, curiosity and understanding. Max pawed gently at my knee, eyes flicking up to mine. I smiled, the warmth of the room and the sunlight mirrored in my heart. The mystery had begun as a quiet curiosity, but now, it had become a shared revelation, one that I would never forget. The sunlight had softened into late afternoon gold, spilling across the living room in gentle, warm streaks. Dust motes floated lazily in the beams, drifting like tiny stars. I sat on the floor beside Max, the letters and photographs still cradled in my hands. The room was quiet, except for the soft rhythm of Max's breathing and the occasional scrape of his paw as he shifted closer. I had spent hours examining the letters, reading and rereading the words written decades ago. They spoke of small, quiet joys, afternoons spent in the garden, laughter shared over simple meals, evenings by the fireplace. But they also spoke of absence, of longing, and of moments that would never return. A subtle ache formed in my chest, not sharp, but persistent. Max nudged my knee gently with his nose, breaking my reverie. His eyes met mine, calm and steady, patient as always. I realized then that he had led me here not just to uncover a secret, but to feel it. To experience it. I leaned back against the wall, letting my hand rest on his soft fur. The warmth of his body grounded me, reminded me to breathe, to take in the moment fully. The golden light touched both of us, wrapping the room in a gentle embrace. Reading through the letters again, I noticed details I hadn't before: a pressed flower, carefully folded into one of the pages, a faint scent lingering in the paper. Tiny imperfections in the ink, smudges from fingertips long gone, hints of someone's personality left behind in the minutiae. Max pawed lightly at the photograph, tail sweeping slowly. I reached down, stroking his head, whispering softly, "We're part of this now, Max, together." He leaned into my touch, eyes closing briefly, content and steady. And I realized how much I depended on his presence, not just for guidance, but for emotional grounding. His calm focus had guided me through curiosity and discovery. Now, his quiet reassurance allowed me to feel. The ache in my chest softened into something warmer. Reflection. Gratitude. Connection. Max had not only led me to a secret hidden in the wall, he had led me to a deeper understanding of the world around me. The past, the present, and the bond we shared were intertwined in a quiet symphony of trust. I glanced down at him, catching the subtle tilt of his ears, the slight wag of his tail. He had been patient, persistent, and unwavering. And now, in the golden light of late afternoon, I realized something important. The secret behind the wall was not just about what was hidden, it was about what was revealed in us through the journey. I folded one of the letters carefully, setting it aside, and pressed my hand gently against the photograph. Memories long past felt alive again. And Max, beside me, seemed to sense the weight of the moment. He rested his head on my lap, eyes soft and trusting, as if offering quiet solidarity. Time stretched lazily. Outside, the wind stirred the trees, sending shadows dancing across the floor. Inside, the room was bathed in a warm golden glow. I felt a sense of closure forming, not complete, not final, but a turning point nonetheless. Max nudged my hand gently again, and I smiled, feeling a quiet bond strengthened. The emotional turning point was subtle, like sunlight shifting across the wall, a gentle illumination rather than a sudden revelation. And yet it was profound. I whispered softly, more to myself than to him, "We found it, Max, we found it together." He wagged his tail slowly, eyes closing in calm satisfaction. And in that quiet, golden-lit room, I understood that the discovery was only part of the story. The true revelation was the connection, the trust, the patience, and the gentle guidance Max had shared with me from the very beginning. The room was bathed in the soft, amber light of late afternoon, the kind that drapes everything in warmth. Dust motes floated lazily in the sunbeams, sparkling like tiny fragments of memory. I sat cross-legged on the floor, Max resting quietly beside me, his head on my knee. The letters and photographs from the hidden compartment lay gently in my lap, each one a delicate bridge to the past. I had read them over and over, letting their words sink slowly into my mind and heart. Each letter was a whisper from someone long gone, full of tenderness, reflection, and the simple joys of everyday life. And now, seeing them together, I began to notice the deeper thread connecting them, the story of love, care, and intention that had been quietly waiting behind the wall. Max nudged my hand gently, tail sweeping slowly, as if urging me to see the heart of it all. I followed his gaze back to the letters, to the photograph, and to the tiny trinkets tucked in the compartment. One of the letters fell open to a page I hadn't fully noticed before. It was addressed to a child, a message of encouragement and love written in careful, patient handwriting. The words were simple, yet filled with warmth and wisdom. My eyes traced each line, imagining the person who had written them, imagining the life they had lived in this very home. Max rested his head against my chest, ears soft, eyes half closed. The gentle rhythm of his breathing matched my own. I realized that the heart of the truth behind the wall wasn't just the items themselves, it was the love embedded in them, the intention behind their preservation, and the silent trust that someone had left a part of themselves behind to be discovered. I picked up the photograph again, brushing away a thin layer of dust. It was a picture of a family, smiling softly at the camera. There was a tenderness in their expressions, a warmth that transcended time. And as I held it, I felt a quiet ache in my chest, not sorrow, not loss, but connection. A bridge between past and present, human and dog, discovery and understanding. Max nudged the photograph with his nose, tail flicking slowly. His eyes met mine, full of quiet certainty. He had guided me here with intention and patience. Every paw tap, every nudge, every glance had led to this moment, the revelation of a life once lived, now sharing its story with us. I carefully folded the letters, placing them back into the compartment. Each one seemed to hum softly with memory. And in that quiet room, surrounded by the soft glow of sunlight, I realized the truth Max had sensed all along. The secret behind the wall was never meant to be frightening, or urgent, or dramatic. It was meant to be found. To teach, to connect, to reveal the beauty in the quiet details of life. Max had known it intuitively. He had understood the importance of patience, observation, and trust. I leaned back against the wall, letting the sunlight warm my face. Max curled slightly against my side, his fur soft and comforting. The rhythmic tapping of his paws was gone now, replaced by stillness. The mystery had revealed itself, gently and fully, through trust and connection. I whispered softly, almost to myself, "You guided me here, Max, and I understand now." He nudged my hand lightly, tail sweeping once. It was affirmation. Approval. A reminder of the bond that had carried us through the quiet hours of curiosity and discovery. I sat there for a long moment, simply taking it all in. The warmth of the sunlight, the weight of Max against me, the presence of history in my hands, all of it combined into a profound sense of completion. The heart-touching truth behind the wall wasn't just the letters or photographs. It was the journey. The patient guidance of a dog, the shared attention, the trust that led to discovery, and the quiet beauty of understanding something together. I looked down at Max, brushing my fingers gently over his ears. "We found it, together," I said softly. His eyes met mine, calm and wise. The tail wagged slowly, a quiet rhythm of contentment. I realized then that he hadn't just uncovered a secret for me, he had shown me how to notice, how to feel, how to connect with the world around me. And that that was more beautiful than anything I could have imagined behind the wall. The photograph and letters sat in the compartment, a silent archive of love, memory, and care. Max rested, calm and content, beside me. I felt an unexpected emotion swell in my chest, a mixture of gratitude, awe, and quiet joy. The emotional weight of the discovery was soft, warm, and deeply satisfying. I traced my hand along Max's back, feeling the warmth of his fur, the calm rhythm of his breathing. Thank you, Max, for leading me here. For trusting me. For being patient. He leaned into my touch, tail sweeping slowly. His eyes, soft and full of understanding, seemed to say, always. That's what we do together. The late afternoon light shifted, casting long, golden shadows across the floor. Dust motes danced lazily, catching the glow. And in that quiet room, I realized that the journey Max had guided me through was more important than the secret itself. The bond, the intuition, the shared discovery, those were the heart-touching truths that would stay with me forever. And as I carefully closed the compartment, securing the letters and photographs for the future, I whispered softly, the story behind the wall, and the journey we shared, will always remain with us. Max rested his head on my knee, eyes closing in calm satisfaction. The soft warmth of the room, the golden light, the gentle rhythm of our breathing, it all felt complete. The late afternoon sunlight softened into a gentle amber glow, filling the living room with warmth. Dust motes floated lazily in the rays, dancing like tiny memories suspended in the air. Max lay beside me, head resting lightly on my knee, eyes calm and wise. The hidden compartment had been closed, the letters and photograph returned to their place, yet the room still carried the quiet magic of discovery. I exhaled slowly, letting the weight of the morning, the hours of curiosity, and the revelation settle into my chest. It wasn't just the secret behind the wall that mattered. It was the journey, the bond between Max and me, the trust, the patience, the gentle rhythm we had shared. I reached down, stroking his ears gently. We did it, Max, together, I whispered. His tail flicked slowly, a small, steady acknowledgement. I realized how much I had learned from him, not just about the past, or hidden secrets, but about being present, attentive, and connected. The golden light shifted as the sun began its descent, spilling warmth across the floor. I sat back, letting the quiet fill the space. Max leaned into me slightly, nudging my hand, reminding me that our bond was the real treasure. Not the letters, not the photograph, not the secret itself, but the trust and love that had guided us through it all. I felt a sense of peace wash over me, a calm, grounding clarity. The mystery had been gentle, the reveal heart-touching, and now the closure was soft, warm, and complete. Max rested his head against my leg, and I could feel the steady rhythm of his breathing, grounding me further in the quiet, golden room. I whispered, more to myself than to him, life has its little secrets, doesn't it, Max? And sometimes, it takes someone like you to help me see them. He tilted his head, eyes soft, as if understanding every word. And in that moment, I realized the depth of our connection. Max had led me to something beyond curiosity, a lesson in patience, trust, and love. The sunlight faded slowly, giving way to a soft, warm evening glow. I leaned back, letting the quiet of the room sink in, feeling the gentle satisfaction of discovery and the enduring bond of companionship. Max rested beside me, eyes closed, tail sweeping lazily. And I knew, with quiet certainty, that no matter what secrets remained hidden in the world, the connection we shared, human and dog, would always guide me. Always remind me of patience, love, and the quiet beauty in life's hidden moments.